Shoe Head watched my video? Blame the voters responding to Democrat criticism. I guess I'm one of the Democrats offering criticism? Well, for one, I definitely don't identify as a Democrat. And I think Shoe knows this, but I think, you can only have so many words in the title. But I'm 100% not a Democrat. I hate the Democrats like 1% less than I hate the Republicans. So I did not watch her full reaction to my reaction. I maybe watched 30 seconds or so and then scrubbed through to see how much of my video she ended up putting into her video, which ended up being quite a bit. It looks like 8 or 9 minutes devoted to my tiny 900 view video. Kind of regardless of whether she agreed with everything I said or completely disagreed with everything I said, that's a lot of time and effort devoted to a complete nobody's video for someone with this much, I don't know, clout as Shoe-on-Head. I guess you could say I'm flattered. I'm going to predict she's going to disagree with probably most of what's going to be in this video, shown in this video. My reaction to her video was like over 2 hours long. She condensed it to like 10 minutes or so, 8 or 10 minutes. Someone left a comment on my version of the video and Shoe found this comment 2 hours later and responded saying she disavowed it, saying that I had a lot of good points. So whether or not she agreed with my points, she at least felt some of them were good, or maybe I was presenting a good argument. But I love this comment, dude. You and your channel are such a joke, dude. Shoe-on-Head, 2.1 million subs. Your little nothing burger, 386. That's hilarious. 386? That is the smallest number of subs I've ever seen. My God, that's embarrassing for you and hilarious at the same time. Wow. I honestly have never seen a subscriber base that small. Keep plugging away, little man. Maybe in a few years, you'll get the silver beginner plaque from YouTube. Until then, congratulations on your massive 300 plus subs. I also got a lot of comments saying I'm a fine gentleman. Several of them commented on my hairline. What's wrong with my goddamn hairline? So yeah, I'm itching to check this out. I do eventually want to watch the whole video because I am curious, but for now, I'm just going to focus on the section where she watches my reaction. So here's my reaction to Shoe's reaction of my reaction to Shoe's reaction of people complaining that Trump won.
Okay, last one. I'm ready. Let's go. This guy is called Dima the Show. Okay, Dima. What do you have for us?
I don't know what to predict here. I've only seen 2 Shoe-on-Head videos, and I follow her on Twitter. She hasn't been very active on Twitter recently. I don't know why. I think she got married and had a kid. But either way, from what I remember of her Twitter, it was fairly progressive. Just realized I'm wearing the same flannel. That was not planned. I'm not going to change now. Look, I'm from the Seattle area, okay? We wear a lot of flannel. Little, tidbits of radical, centrist, reactionary stuff a little bit here and there.
I like how just, nobody understands me. America is so terminally left-right brained, dude. You can talk about how you want workplace democracy all day, but if you also say something like, I think we should make it harder for children to access porn or something, people are like, oh, I don't know, she's some kind of centrist? What?
Anyway, I got a lot of comments on my last video.
Okay. I mean, we can talk a lot about just that, and I don't want to. One, I don't think Shoe has reactionary tendencies because of her opinion. Pretty strong negative feelings on porn, as far as I can tell. The few things that I've seen from Shoe, the few videos, the few tweets, well, the number of tweets, she seems to have a pretty hardline stance against porn. While I'm, generally, morally, I think, pro sex work in general, I think the porn industry has a lot of fucking problems. Present day porn industry has a lot of fucking problems. I'm not going to deny that. I don't know if this is something others have said in regard to I've gotten comments in some of my Shoe-on-Head videos from progressive viewers of mine who have said, yeah, I don't really like Shoe. She has some reactionary tendencies. None of them have said anything about porn. That's not the issue I have with Shoe. And I wouldn't even say I have a major issue with Shoe. You can go back into Shoe's catalog. You can hear it in some of her rhetoric. There's some little reactionary fleas in there. That's as far as I'm really going to go with it, though. I stand by what I said there. I stand by what I said of other videos where I've talked about Shoe. While there are some places where she and I disagree, while there are some things that kind of strike me as just reactionary adjacent. I think she and I are aligned on a lot of things. But regardless of who Shu is, her audience, at least a lot of it, are reactionary young men, conservative young men. Because I've gotten a lot more hate than love from Shu's reaction to my video. And I don't know if that has, maybe Shu will be a lot more critical over me as time goes on. We're less than a fucking minute in, and this has probably gone on for 10 minutes. And as she just said, like talking about, like advocating for workplace democracy and like just general, I don't want to use the scary S word, but you know, socialist, progressive ideas. Someone with this type of audience talking about these types of subjects in this type of way, I think is a good thing.
Like, wait, you're left wing and you hate the Democrats? Yeah, man.
Okay, so is she coming out as left wing? Just do it.
Yeah, man, that's a pretty common thing. If you're shocked that I'm left-wing, maybe that's a sign you need to take a step back and evaluate some of the preconceived stereotypes you have of people. Not all of us are crazy blue-haired socialists, no. Some of us are crazy brown-haired socialists. But for those of
Hey, yo!
Ugh, why is he soying out? I hate this. I'm never gonna call myself a socialist again.
For someone like her... Look, I'm soying out because, yeah, I just said it. I am a utilitarian, okay? A philosophical utilitarian. Long story short, it's like the ends justify the means, whatever they are. So if the ends are a better world for the most amount of people, yes, these progressive, these democratic socialist ideas are a good thing. Exposing different people to these types of ideas in an accessible way, which is what I think Shu generally does pretty well, is a good thing. And look, okay, if I were to guess, like somewhere between 70 and 80% of Shu's audience are men. Men are overwhelmingly going to be reactionary. Everything else Shu on Head's audience is watching is probably fucking terrible. There just aren't a lot of positive vectors that these men are watching that are talking about point blank socialism in a positive way. Everything else they're watching is telling them that the problem with America, the problem with the world is trans people. It's immigrants. It's this, it's that. When the reality is, it's, you know, the class war. It's the rich having too much power over our lives. Shu is like the one person these people are watching that recognizes that is talking about that. So yeah, if you're like me and your goal is for the world to be a better place, someone like Shu, who has these opinions, who has this audience that she's speaking blatantly to, fuck it, is exciting to me. It's not like a, yo, she's a socialist, she's one of us, wow. While I generally identify with, like, you know, democratic socialism and these policy ideas, I'm not really in the, like, club, if you know what I mean. I do my best to avoid that type of sectarian thinking. It's not like, wow, she's a socialist, she's one of us. For one, there's not that many leftist content creators, especially ones with sizable audiences. There's Hassan, and that's kind of it, and he mostly is talking to other leftists, other progressives. Shu is saying a lot of the same things to reactionaries. One of the people men are watching on YouTube talk about politics is a socialist. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't a good thing. Maybe she could change some people's ideas and maybe things could get better, kind of way. With such a diverse audience, like, who gets, you know, I mean, now I'm just repeating myself, but whatever. Millions and millions of views on her videos. Someone like her with this much reach, with this much of an audience, and say, hey, look at me, I'm a left-wing socialist, I think is good for the cause.
I don't want to be good for the cause. I'm a rebel. I'm not one of you. You don't love me. Sorry, I'm just burned by all the other videos. I'm like an abused cat lashing out at a new adoptive owner.
Okay, I could see how you could misconstrue or construe what I'm saying in a way that, you know, anyone wouldn't want to hear. Again, when I say good for the cause, I can tell what that sounds like, okay? I'm not naive. It's just like, Shu, I mean, you just talked about it. You want workplace democracy, right? Well, you talking about it to your audience directly is good for that cause. That's all I mean. And if that's not worth soy-facing about, I don't know what is.
He's out here handing me a treat like, pss, 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 and I'm like, let's relax.
So, okay, fellas, she said she's a socialist. She said She's left-wing. Why do we hate her?
That's such a weird, thing to say. She's one of us. She agrees with us politically. Why do we hate her? I don't know. Maybe I'm a f***ing asshole.
Kamala Harris being, a person of color. I mean, again, I know how that could come across as, okay? I guess I mean broadly, I don't watch a ton of left-wing content. I do follow a lot of, progressives and leftists on Twitter. And like I've said, people in my comment section have, progressives and leftists in my comment section have complained about Shu. And my point there is I just don't really see why we're devoting any energy to hating on Shu, I guess is my point. As progressives, as leftists. She does devote a lot of time in her videos to, making fun of people who are ostensibly on the left, who are ostensibly progressive. But those are people who are saying dumb shit. So one, I could see that being red meat to some of her more reactionary audience. And two, I guess I could see some progressives or leftists seeing that and going, that's not really who a socialist, a leftist, or progressive should really be devoting all of their time to. And a part of me understands that perspective, but a part of me thinks we should keep ourselves in check too. And when we say dumb shit, call it out. When I say dumb shit, call it out. Shu is doing that right now. Shu is not like libs of TikTok, where it's completely bad faith and you're just being fucking shitty and mean and cruel. I don't think Shu's like that when she's commenting on liberals, even progressives and leftists, saying and doing dumb shit. I mean, I get it. Fuck optics, fuck tribalism. I'm not trying to say any of that. I'm not trying to say Shu says she's a socialist, so we all have to love her. I guess I'm just here's the list of leftist or progressive commentators, and most people on the online left are cool with most of them to some degree, but for some reason Shu is not, and I don't know why. Is that going to have an effect on some amount of people? Sure it will. Is that why she lost?
Don't say it. Don't say it, please.
Yes, that is why Kamala lost. I'll spoil it for all of you. I think Kamala lost only because of her gender and skin color. Yes!
Please.
I don't think so. Oh, shoot. Fuck. I forgot who paid me to say those lines that day.
Thank you. Oh my god, the bar is low.
Young men did come out and support Trump, and apparently for the reasons I and many others predicted. We asked young men why they voted for Donald Trump. Here's what they said. What appealed to him about Donald Trump was that his campaign was not coming after us. He was highlighting the American people, which we are. It doesn't matter what color you are, what you may identify as. Since I wasn't excluded, I resonated with it.
See? That is a dumb person. That is a fucking idiot.
Okay. I'm doing the thing they do. I'm pausing before he finishes his sentence.
I think for that one, it's less you're pausing before I finish and more, I think there was additional context before that whole clip that was also probably worth talking about. Let's see. What appealed to him about Trump was that his campaign was not coming after us. He was highlighting the American people, which we are. Doesn't matter what color you are. Yeah, it's well, for one, when I say dumb, I just mean not as civically literate as you probably should be. I think I remember what I meant, and I don't even know if I said it in this video. I just mean his campaign was not coming after us. It's bitch, neither was the Kamala Harris campaign. I just mean this guy clearly fell for misinformation. One, he voted for Trump, which in my opinion means you fell for some kind of misinformation. Point blank. Every Trump voter fell for something. I stand by. There is no reasonable reason to vote for Donald Trump. Not that Democrats are great. They don't make themselves particularly likable. But if you're voting for Trump because you felt his campaign was not coming after you, yeah, you were duped. I'll stand by it.
With it.
See? That is a dumb person. That is a fucking idiot.
Okay. I'm doing the thing they do. I'm pausing before he finishes his sentence. Let's hear him out.
When you tell a young white guy, hey, you're an oppressor, and because you're white, you have privileges that your black and Hispanic peers didn't have, and you're inherently at fault, or you're guilty for that, which is what a lot of the left wings or Democrats are saying.
Yeah, I mean, you are, as a white person, you do have, systemic privileges that people of color in this country don't have for a variety of reasons. That's just the truth.
All right, we're gonna disagree here. Now you will see why. They hate me.
Okay, so this explains a lot of comments that I got on my video. I got comments I guess this is a black person. Please inform me exactly how I'm less privileged than white people. You're the expert here, so enlighten me. This guy talks about some pretty heavy stuff, talking about terrible stuff happening to him and his family. He's saying, how do you take away me being white? I hope you checked your white privilege and given all the money you make from doing this to some random person of color, a rebrand of the 60s colored people, LOL. And if you haven't, then you need to do it today. Signed, all the woke crazy people. Damn son, already 60 downvotes to your currently 27 likes LMFAO. It's only going to get worse till you give away all your privilege and money. Now it's up to 92. 28 likes to 92 dislikes. I bet it's more. Let's see. 129. The real number of the dislikes for my video is 129 to 28. That's fucking awesome. Do you even realize how racist it is to say someone is racist because they are white? I mean, I don't know if I've ever said that. You were doing so good till you just blanket say every white person is racist. Did I say that?
The only privilege that exists is class privilege. Poor, working class, middle class.
We'll let her finish.
White people, poor, working class, middle class black people have the same amount of privilege. None. A rich black person has more privilege than a white poor person. Telling a white college-age man who's struggling to pay off student loans, who can't afford a house, who can't find a job, that he's part of systemic racism and privileged, good f***ing luck.
We're not racist, we're not misogynist. Okay. Yeah, I mean, agree to disagree with Shu here. I will point to some of the comments I made on my video. So let's go back to this one. Again, this guy's comment is pretty heavy to start, so just keep that in mind. My cousin, white, was assassinated by cops. My family was constantly poor. I'm borderline broke and been homeless half a year. Where's my inherent privilege? If my driver's license gets taken away, there goes my privilege to drive. How do you take away me being white? And then the rest of his comment is just kind of nonsense. So my response, no, I generally agree with Shu. No war but class war. But in America today, the average black person still experiences specific problems and forms of discrimination and prejudice that a white person in their same class won't experience. The poorest black person versus the poorest white person, average income black person versus average income white person, and high income black people versus high income white people. There are certain systemic barriers, systemic biases, systemic prejudices that the black person and the black or brown person is going to face that the white person won't face. I said wealth disparities alone shine a pretty big light on this, with the average white family controlling 10 times more wealth than the average black family. I go on to say that black and brown people are disproportionately policed, arrested, and sentenced more harshly than white people for similar or the same offenses. White workers tend to have higher wages and greater access to job opportunities compared to people of color with the same qualifications. Centuries of discriminatory policies, all the way from slavery and legal segregation and things like redlining, have led to generational wealth gaps where white families have significantly more wealth on average than black and brown families. White Americans often receive better healthcare treatment and have lower maternal mortality rates than black Americans, even when controlling for income and education. Here's another comment from like a month ago, back before Shu watched my video. Here's more about the wealth gap, where the median net worth of white households was $250,000 compared to just $27,000 for black households and $48,000 for Hispanic households. Implicit biases against black and brown people are 100% real, and they can influence decisions at every stage of the criminal justice process, from policing to sentencing to incarceration and everything in between, leading to unequal treatment based on their skin color/race. Studies have shown that healthcare providers may unconsciously deliver lower quality care to minority patients. People of color experience workplace advancement disparities and underrepresentation in leadership positions. Studies show that there's significant racial discrimination in hiring practices, even when resumes are identical except for names that sound traditionally white versus traditionally black. Wage gaps that persist even when controlling for education and experience. Mortgage lending rates are different depending on your skin color. Homes are devalued in black neighborhoods. Minority communities face predatory lending at higher rates. There are major disparities in small business loan approvals. Conservatives close polling places, specifically near minority communities, as well as other forms of voter suppression that target specifically people of color. So again, no war but class war, which is what Shu is saying here. I agree. That's how we should look at it. But to really say with a straight face that black and brown people of your same social class face no different forms of issues or discrimination versus a white person of that same social class, I think is wrong. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that is incorrect. So again, in broad terms, no war but class war. I generally agree with Shu here. But to say no amount of racial discrimination exists in America, I think is also just not supported by evidence. I think there is some racism. I think there is xenophobia in America today. I do agree with Shu, like I said, like 95%. Class war, ain't no war but class war. Sure, we're on the same page, I think, roughly. We're not racist, we're not misogynistic. I mean, see, this is, again, I have to say, actually, we all kind of are racist. But that's boring, that's complex, that takes nuance, that takes time, and no one wants to fucking hear that shit. I wonder what she's cutting out. I don't remember my exact commentary. But when I'm saying we're all racist or whatever, I think maybe that's where people are thinking I'm saying all white people are racist. I think when people hear something like that, they're like, well, I don't call black people the N-word directly to their face. I'm not racist. And I don't want to turn this video into a video just talking about racism or systemic racism or implicit racism. But that's really what I'm talking about. Is there blatant racism? Of course. There's like your Nick Fuentes types, Groypers and 4chan people. Of course, there are plenty of people like that in America. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Some of them are literally working in the Trump White House. Looking at you, Stephen Miller. Elon Musk's entire Twitter feed would make 4chan users blush. So there are those like blatant racists for sure, plenty of them, but ignoring them, yeah, I do think there is some amount of systemic racism that do exist, and I think there's data to back it up. Of course that's not gonna fucking resonate. How do you make it resonate? I maybe you can make it fun.
Make it fun? Hey, white people! You're inherently racist!
I mean, I don't think that's what I'm saying. Am I saying, hey, white people, you're inherently racist? I mean, no. I'm saying the nuanced position that, yeah, to some degree, systemic racism exists in the United States. There are implicit biases. Black and brown people do experience certain prejudices and issues that the average white person doesn't face. She's being funny, I think maybe a tad uncharitable, but I digress.
What?
But I don't think there's a way to, put lipstick on the progressive messaging pig. Like, I don't know if we can win on messaging alone.
Because it's not the messaging. It's not how you are selling the product. It's the product. These guys are being alienated from progressive messaging, not because it's complicated.
I mean, I'll disagree with you here. I think the left does have a much more difficult time messaging than the right wing does. We can't just be like, all of your problems are because of trans people and immigrants. We just can't do that. It is way the fuck easier for reactionaries to message. I mean, I'm going to 100% disagree with Shu here. Not to say that's the only problem facing the left, but no, I stand by that the messaging element is much harder for the left and even liberals.
But because it's stupid and regressive. Young men are tired of being told to pay for the sins of their great-grandfathers. Full stop. That's it. And people aren't just going, systemic racism exists. Like, yeah, maybe that's what you're doing.
Okay, well.
I don't think you're some kind of, like, woke SJW or whatever.
Okay, well. I just spent like 45 minutes justifying what I was saying, and Shu fucking is like, well, I know what you're saying. Okay, well, thank you, Shu, for putting it at the end. Okay, so it looks like Shu understands what I'm trying to get at, probably poorly.
Young men are tired of being told to pay for the sins of their great-grandfathers.
Yeah, okay. That is not what I'm doing. Maybe some, like Shu's putting it, radlibs do that. Not the way I see it. And I was going to say this earlier. I do think fixing all of the class issues we have will fix a lot of the racial issues that we have. Like, I will say this. Like, I was, back in the day, 2016, 2017, a lot more of a radlib. I was a massive lib. I still viewed things from a class-based analysis, but not as much as I do today. So back then, and even maybe like up to a couple years ago, I might have talked specifically about like wanting to invest like government money specifically to, say, Black communities or something, which I still think we should do, but not specifically just to Black communities, but anyone in that sort of, class level that, the majority of Black people in America are unfortunately in, due to centuries, the residual effects of centuries of slavery, segregation, etc. But again, where like older radlib me may have been like, we have to expand on social welfare spending on minority communities, I think today me would be like, no, make it one universal for all people of like lower incomes or whatever. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Full stop. That's it. And people aren't just going systemic racism exists. Like, yeah, maybe that's what you're doing. I don't think you're some kind of like woke SJW or whatever. But to pretend like that's the only thing people are doing is kind of a cope. You're in denial. Corporations were literally hiring Robin DiAngelo to give PowerPoint presentations to workers on how to be less white. This was a thing that happened. I remember Coca-Cola.
Okay, I guess I'm also saying, I'm also not saying radlibs don't exist. Certainly radlibs exist. I also think, to kind of push back on Shu a little bit here, even that slide, as dumb as it was, even that book or whoever that person is, that is, as dumb as that is, even if we did exactly what that person wanted, that's not the fucking problem. That's like the liberal version of conservatives complaining about trans people and immigrants. I too complain about liberals all the fucking time.
Doing it specifically. Coca-Cola, which, by the way, the CEO of Coca-Cola is now openly praising Trump and like hanging out with him.
Yeah, and I think that's a bigger issue than like Coca-Cola internally for like one day. That's just like whatever. There's no fucking material harm that could ever have come of that. I sincerely think that. Look, liberals, progressives, the left, we are advocating for change to some degree. And sometimes we can overcorrect. I talk about this shit all the time. Like the Latinx thing. You guys remember Latinx? I think that's an overcorrection. But I will say this, at least like, liberal or progressive or even left-wing overcorrections are like just trying to be kinder or nicer. But it's like, yeah, if the worst thing liberals are doing is some dumb fuck PowerPoint presentation at Coca-Cola about white people, when the worst thing that conservatives are doing today is like genociding trans people, yeah, I'm going to say one is worse. I'm going to focus my time on one rather than the other. Yes, do radlibs overcorrect? Yes. Can they be annoying? Yes. Are there bigger fish to fry? In my opinion, yes.
Moment. They really saw the popular vote and were like, later homos. God, I miss the 90s. I feel like we really had race relations down back then. I don't see color. That worked. That was great. Why did we get rid of that?
After the election, one of the only politicians I've seen
Spent way too much time on this, but nah, that ain't it.
Who is actively trying to
understand
understand why people voted the way that they did is AOC. When I met her, I whispered into her ear, "Take the pronouns out of your bio." And she did. Anyway, after the election, AOC found out that a ton of people voted for her down ballot, but also voted for Trump for president on the same ticket. Curious, she took to her Instagram to ask people why they did that. And these were some of their answers. I feel like Trump and you are both real. It's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class.
Ugh. Trump and you care for the working class. Just complete, diametrically opposed entities, AOC and Donald Trump. Insane, man.
Do you know how many people...
I think I maybe said this in my original video, but like, I don't give a fuck about rhetoric. Not a single flying fuck. All I care about is policy. Okay? Yes, Trump and AOC, yes, Trump and Bernie have that sort of populist rhetoric, but their policies are night and day. You should be voting for people based on their policies, not how they sound, not the rhetoric. You can't just hear two people go, I want to help the working class, I want to help the working class, and go, well, they must be the exact same. No, I want to hear, what are your policies? What are your policies? And yes, if that much of the electorate is falling for rhetoric rather than policy, I think that's a problem. I think if you can't tell the difference between someone like AOC and someone like Trump, someone who genuinely cares about the working class versus someone who it's just completely fake, I think that's a problem. When it's over half of American voters, I think that's a problem. It's like, okay, I'm going to be as charitable to Trump as possible, okay? Trump versus Kamala Harris. Did Trump sound better for the working class than Kamala Harris? Yes. Would Trump be better for the working class than Kamala Harris? No. If you can't see that, and you're an adult human voter, that's a problem. Is it partially a problem on the Democrats and their messaging and their campaigning? Sure. Does the objective truth still exist that Trump would be worse for the working class than Kamala Harris, regardless of their rhetoric, regardless of their campaign? Yes. And it's not like I'm the only one who sees this. When I say blame the voters, I mean, I'm really blaming the systems that created this electorate. The nonstop, unrestricted right-wing propaganda machine. The failure to invest in education. The failure to make a college education free or at least more accessible. And of course, the massive wealth transfer from the bottom to the top through 5 decades of neoliberalism hasn't helped either.
People used to like Bernie Sanders and now vote for Donald Trump, and vice versa. There are so many conservatives I know who used to be Bernie Sanders supporters.
Okay, I will say this about the conservative Bernie Sanders supporters. I think I talked about this recently in regard to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, of course, famously endorsed Bernie Sanders. Again, and I listened to Joe Rogan at that time. If I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't really about policy. It was about rhetoric. It was about how he was an outsider. And that's what a lot of conservatives like about Bernie. They like his rhetoric. They like his outsider status. But his policies are more left than the Democrats. You should like Bernie because of his policies, because of the things he's advocating for, not how he's advocating for them, in my opinion. Now, I know we live in reality. We're talking about humans. Of course, humans are going to respond to messaging. They're going to respond to rhetoric. I'm not saying I'm immune to it. Of course not. But I think voters should make a concerted effort to support people based on policy, not rhetoric. I think not enough voters do that. And yes, I think that's a problem.
Is it because Bernie and Trump are so much alike? No. But their rhetoric, how they spoke, who they spoke to, who they fought for or claimed to fight for. The forgotten man, the American worker. This is populism, and throughout history, populism could be used for good or for evil. And like I said in many of my videos, if you don't understand this, you're never gonna get it.
Maybe this is a one-time thing.
Okay, I mean, that pretty directly ties to what I just said. And I think I said this in that video that she was watching right now, fine, if we want to use populism as a rhetorical tool, fine, I'm not against it inherently, I don't know. All I'm saying is we're talking about a band-aid, where the real problem is working class voters are voting for policies, for politicians who are advocating for policies, who are passing laws and policies that are against their class interests. They are doing this. Tens of millions of them are doing this every single year. Maybe we are just talking about two different things. She was talking about how things are, maybe, and I'm talking about how things I think should be.
Maybe it's just because of Trump or inflation, or maybe the meme is coming true. Maybe Republicans are the new party of the working class. Democrats.
That's just so insane, man.
See, this is one reason I don't see why you should blame the voters. Obviously the Democratic Party is doing something wrong if blue-collar, working-class people of all races are moving towards the Republican Party.
Well, I want to make something clear. If you are a blue-collar, working-class person and you're ooh, the Democrats, they really represent my interests, you're also wrong. I mean, don't mistake, I have to say this all the time. Don't mistake my criticizing the Republicans as me saying the Democrats are good. They are better. And if you have to choose between eating two piles of shit, I think you should eat the smaller one. And I think the Democrat pile of shit is the smaller pile of shit. But what the working class needs is a nice hot meal. And I don't think either party is advocating for that. So if you sincerely think the Democrats are working in the best interests of the working class, you are as wrong as the Republicans are. There are some individually few Democrats, a tiny minority, 2 senators and 10 representatives in the House at the federal level who are actually advocating for genuinely good policies that would help the working class. But the party as a whole, the party platform, certainly who they're putting up to run for president, are not really doing that. Barely better than the Republicans. The Democrats will not make working class lives much better, but the Republicans will certainly make them a lot fucking worse. So I do fundamentally think we need a real Labor Party. The Democrats are not the answer. They are just fortunate there is a party as fucking insane and batshit as the Republicans that they don't even need to do anything. And you've got fucking leftists and progressives like me saying, holy shit, we have to vote for the Democrats. That's its own massive problem. The fact that we have a center-right party and a far-right party is a massive problem. Neither are good for the working class. One is better, I guess, but neither are good. But again, like I said in my video there, like, I don't know if the Democrats just were like, okay, fuck it, we tried. Bernie, here are the keys to the party. I don't know if that would be enough. The way the right wing has made culture war issues so powerful, so prominent at this point, a part of me is worried the frog has been boiled to a pretty significant crisp. I don't want to go full doomer and say there's no way to make things better. That would be absurd. But the frog has been pretty significantly boiled at this point. But no, long story short, the Democratic Party sucks enormous ass and is not the answer the working party needs, the working class needs, and is not the party the working class needs.
And the Democrats are only gaining with old women and coastal elites. The voters don't see you as the party for the little guy. They see a literal billionaire as the party for the little guy. You are doing something wrong!
I hope the male loneliness epidemic eats you
Don't
MAGA
disagree.
scum alive. I hope you feel a hole in your soul and feel unloved until your dying day. I hope you rot in your deathbed, wondering why women looked at you like you had rabies your whole life as your eyes closed for the last.
I'm not going to defend this. This is not good or healthy.
Honestly, Gnome Bro and this guy have been pretty reasonable. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe not.
No one, bro? Oh, no, I think it's like Gnome Bro, maybe another commentator she talked about. Oh, did she just say I've been pretty reasonable? Hey! Let's hear that again.
Honestly,
Let's run it back.
Gnome Bro and this guy have been pretty reasonable. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe not all Democrats are doomed. Maybe there is a chance.
Again, calling me a Democrat, I think, is a pretty big stretch. Begrudging Democrat voter? Sure. But a card-carrying Democrat who's like, man, the Democrats are doing good. No. Fuck no. I think if you legitimately... I'm going to say this, okay? I'm going to say this out loud, like in broad terms. If you think the Democrats are good in your head, you're like a Democrat Party loyalist, you're more crazy than a fucking Republican, than a fucking conservative. Because at least conservatives are doing something. Like, Trump is there, like, building concentration camps for immigrants. He's signing executive orders causing direct harm to trans people. He's freezing government spending. All of these things are awful, obviously. But if you're a Republican voter who was duped into thinking these are good, something's happening. The Democrats don't do shit. Good or bad. This is what I always say. The Democrats are like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. They don't do anything. They're the status quo. The Republicans are like 20 steps back. They're going somewhere, but it's not a good thing. No, we need a true labor movement, a labor party to really move things forward. The Democrats are not that. I do not identify as a Democrat.
A Democrat wins 2028. Maybe some really do get it.
Some liberals use the occasion to look down upon the icky dummies who were too stupid to know they shouldn't vote for Trump. Yet
I mean, where's the lie?
So that was that video. That is all I can take.
Okay, I mean, look, I'm clearly being facetious. I'm making a joke. But do I think in my heart of hearts that informed people, civically literate people, people who are good at disseminating information, vote for Trump? I don't think so. I think there is no reasonable reason to vote for Trump. If you vote for Trump, like stupid, I don't like using that word. I know I use it, but I really don't actually like using it. But will I outright say they clearly made the wrong decision? Yes. Will I say with equal ferocity that the Democrats made the wrong decision nominating Biden in 2020 instead of Bernie and Hillary Clinton in 2016 instead of Bernie? Yes. Same fervor. If you voted for Biden against Bernie, you made the wrong choice. If you voted for Trump, you made the wrong choice. Do I think it's healthy to use the occasion to look down on people? No, I'm not advocating for that. And in the video she watched, I mean, there were a number of like tweets that she found that like went viral from liberals that were very, very just extremely shitty in all the wrong ways to Trump voters that I do not advocate for. I say this all the time. I think everyone's stupid, including me. But some decisions people make are better than others. I guess when I say where's the lie, I just mean like, you should know you shouldn't vote for Trump. I think that should be something every adult should be able to recognize. And if they can't do that on their own, regardless of what the Democratic Party does, if you can't figure out that Trump is not going to be good for you, that the Republicans in general are not good for you, that is its own problem. Does some of the blame lie on the Democrats because they didn't run a good enough campaign, that the rhetoric wasn't good enough? Sure, to some degree, sure. I still think any reasonable person should have known not to vote for Trump. The fact that so many did, regardless of any other circumstance, is its own problem. There's clearly a lot Shu and I agree on. There are clearly certain things she and I don't agree on. But I can definitely understand where she's coming from with pretty much everything she's saying. I think there was very little where I was like, no, you are just completely off base, completely incorrect. No, I think there's a lot of nuance to these conversations. It's when you get into the weeds, it's when you get into the nuance where there are little things here and there that we seem to disagree on. But like I said, Shu said I made some good points. I was apparently one of the good two among the, I don't know how many people she watched. Oh my god, is that Destiny? Okay, we're definitely going to watch the rest of this video too. Anyway, let me know your thoughts.